You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 16th meeting for the Long Beach Human Resources Committee. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is April 16th, 2025. The time is 1:44 p.m. This is the April HR Committee for the Town of Long Beach, and at this time, we will turn it over to our chairperson, Cindy Levy.
Thank you.
You'll need to unlock your item.
And we have a few things to discuss today. First of all, is an application background from Cody Downs, who is just in the process of being hired. And Chief, I'll defer to you to give a summary of that.
Thank you. Back on April 1st, our street department driver laborer had resigned his employment with the town. He was hired previously back on December 10th of 2024. Therefore, the opening we had posted on Indeed and ZipRecruiter. We received quite a few applications. After vetting those applications, we then called Cody Downs in for the initial interview. Cody is a current employee with the City of LaPorte Water Department. He's been employed there since July of 2022. The interview went quite well with Cody. The interview committee consisted of HR committee member, clerk treasurer Meg Collins, myself, street department superintendent Tom Dolph, water superintendent Greg Parrish, and assistant water superintendent Austin Ashcraft. At the conclusion of Cody's initial interview, it was recommended that we hire Cody. So therefore, we gave him a conditional offer to hire based upon the completion of the application background, also the pre-employment drug screening, civil and criminal background check, and then a check of all references, both personal and also checking his current employer status to make sure that he was an employee in good standing. All of those individual items have been checked. He has passed the pre-employment drug screening with negative results. The current employer, LaPorte City Water Department, was contacted on Tuesday, April 15th, and both his current supervisor and a current employee that he works with both gave positive remarks and also said that he would be eligible for rehire. All references checked out. He currently possesses a valid Indiana driver's license and has all the experience and knowledge that is necessary for the position. Town Council on Monday, April 14th at 7 p.m. voted to recommend his hiring and start him at a starting salary of $24 per hour. And we are now discussing it here today at the HR committee for a recommendation. Typically, we would bring it before the HR committee, before the town council. However, the timing, the way the two meetings were scheduled this week, was that the town council actually heard of this prior to the HR committee. However, prior to today's meeting, I have been keeping the HR committee members up to date through email and sharing information with them. So with that, it is my recommendation to this committee that we move forward with the conditional offer of hire and start Cody Downs on his official start date of Monday, May 5th. At 6 a.m. as our new street department driver laborer.
And I will make that motion to extend that offer to him. And all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, I think he sounds like a really good, strong candidate. So
Thank you.
I'll be anxious to hear how that works out.
Wonderful.
And another employee situation we wanted to discuss was Austin Ashcraft right now. The desire to maybe give him a little bump in his salary based on his performance. And I would like you to explain to us, a little summary of why you think it's justified and your recommendation.
Thank you. Austin has been with the town of Long Beach now for 6 years. Austin came to me last month and informed me that he now has all his necessary certifications necessary for a water department. He's attending his annual recertifications and continuing education, both he and the current superintendent, Greg Ashcraft. Greg is years, not many years away from retirement, and Greg personally shared with me that he feels that once Greg does move to retirement, that he would be recommending Austin Ashcraft to take over as our water superintendent, as he currently serves as the assistant superintendent. When we hired Austin, he was brought in at a much lower starting rate because at the time he did not have any experience in the water department, but in 6 years he has shown much growth. And speaking to Clerk Collins, excuse me, she also is in agreement that he has shown a lot of growth and is doing well, exceptionally well as an employee in our water department. So Austin had asked us to consider moving his hourly rate from that of the current rate, $25.86 to $28 per hour. So roughly a $2.14 an hour increase compared to where he's at currently. Other than that, currently he receives $500 a year for longevity, $100 per year for each year of service, and he is eligible for overtime. So he does get overtime throughout the year. But I personally feel that it's important that with the amount of experience and training that he has and the integrity and professionalism he has shown as an employee, that we definitely do not want to lose him to a surrounding community, and that he is worth the investment to keep him here employed with the town. And, you know, Greg's been with us 23 years, Tom's been with us 33 years, and I foresee Austin also having longevity with the town. He's a young man, he's in his early 30s, and I could see him being here for a very long time. So my recommendation would be, I would make the recommendation today that based upon the information that Austin has provided to me and upon review of it and his certifications and ongoing training, that this committee recommend to the town council for consideration of either changing the salary ordinance, amending it for 2025 and increasing Austin's pay rate to $28 per hour, or at the minimum, when we begin to draft the 2026 salary ordinance for next year, that we make the amendment to increase his salary to that of $28 per hour, and to include any, you know, cost of living increase that would typically be given to all other employees in the same year, that he be considered for that as well. So, and then I would open it for discussion.
Just, do we have the funds to amend that now?
I can verify with Clerk Treasurer Collins, since she was unable to meet with us today. I'm almost certain that we do, because we would be looking at, you know, approximately 7 months of additional hourly rate and that. And thankfully this winter, they did not go through a lot of overtime for plowing and that. So worst case scenario, there should be enough left in their overtime fund that we can move over into the salary line item to compensate the difference. So, but great question.
Yeah. I have no problem. Feel like,
Yeah, I was just wondering what's involved with, you know, changing the ordinance. Would that just affect him, or would that affect other employees as well?
We've done this before with other employees. We have a current 2025 salary ordinance that was passed last fall. So our town attorney would draft an amended salary ordinance, and in the amended salary ordinance, it would specifically outline any of the changes that are within the salary ordinance. And if it's one employee that's affected, then it would just be that one line. It wouldn't affect any other employees. So
You don't foresee a similar situation with anyone else coming up this year?
no, I see some changes for 2026. We could maybe also include the next item that I have
Yeah,
on here for discussion.
Mhm.
That could be a possibility for yet this year. But aside from that, I do not foresee any other changes on the salary ordinance at this time.
Well, on the positive side, I think that would generate a lot of goodwill, and elicit some loyalty to the town, and that you responded to. He probably needs, you know,
right.
at this time, you know, there is a lot of need. So, you know, so I think the positive side is it would make him an even better employee.
Mhm.
No, thank you. And his superintendent supports the recommendation as well. In fact, I spoke with Greg Parrish yesterday about it, and I informed both of them that this would be up for discussion today. And Superintendent Parrish is in favor of it as well. So,
I would make the motion then to go ahead and change the ordinance with that amendment this year.
okay, second.
All of them.
Second, yep.
I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
I really do. I think being proactive about these situations is really to our benefit. And that leads us to the next topic for discussion about Tom Golf.
Yes.
And maybe Chief, you can summarize that issue as well.
So Tom Dolph is our street superintendent. He is an hourly based employee, so he is eligible for benefits of overtime and longevity. And Tom has been with us for 33 years. Currently, Tom is working on our community crossing paving grant, which this year is a $1.73 million project. And Tom plays an integral part in our CCMG grants, where he serves as, and I want to get this correct, because I was just looking up, he is our employee responsible charge. It's called ERC, the Employee in Responsible Charge certification. So this is a state certification that he has to hold so that the town is eligible for these very important grants. And as I stated, this one's approximately $1.73 million. Tom also holds a fertilization certification where he's able to do fertilization for the town. He also has prior MS4 and stormwater training, no longer holding certifications in that area, but he is very well experienced and knowledgeable in that field. So one of the things the previous HR committee had discussed looking at employees who hold specific certifications of giving them an additional stipend to their wages every year to kind of credit them for having this experience and this knowledge, because it is important, and we need to have someone that has this, and he has to take ongoing continual education and training and whatnot. So it would be my recommendation to this committee that based upon Tom's years of service, his certifications and that we somehow add in language in the salary ordinance to increase his salary by $1,500 to offset for these certifications. So
instead of a stipend, it would just be a flat 1,500 to.
Yeah, either we increase his overall salary by the 1,500 or somehow, I don't know, list it as a specialty type, certification. I guess we could defer to our attorney. It may be easier just adding it to his base salary.
But he's not salaried, right?
He's not.
He's hourly.
Yeah, he's hourly. So we'd have to. The problem is when you add it to the hourly, then the taxes go up and everything else goes up. So we could add in the handbook language in there under the benefits section that for him holding the ERC certification, as long as he maintains that certification, he would get a $1,500 a year, payment. We could either at the beginning of the year.
Or something like
Yeah. So, but he would have to maintain that certification to be eligible for
And
that.
what's involved in maintaining it?
Continual education, and he has to take a test, I believe, once a year.
Okay.
So, and then the state sends him a certificate showing that, his certification is valid. And that
And the 1,500, you came upon that number.
Tom had asked me to use that number. I've seen others that have, some have been $1,000, $2,000, $500. It varies. But I think $1,500 is fair. It's roughly, I don't know, was it 150, maybe less than $150 a month, like $75 a paycheck, something like that. So
Does he have to pay for that certification?
no, there's no cost to him. So
And how many hours does he put in to,
Well, the testing and probably the follow-up isn't much a year, but it's an annual thing. Like every month, he's doing something with the ERC. Like right now, we're doing a lot of work with it because we're having to report to the Community Crossings Grant Program. So like we just had a meeting in here on Monday with Haas Engineering and that, and then we're having to continually send forms to NDOT applications and that. And
he's in charge of it.
yes, he is our employee responsible in charge for that. So,
Yeah, I'm just trying to put the task to the.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what I-
Tie it to
Yeah.
the,
yeah.
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 And then if other people have different certifications,
Mhm.
I came from a background of teaching and, unfortunately, well, I worked for a Catholic school which had a lower pay rate than public schools. So to try to retain those Catholic school teachers, stipends were given for additional,
Mhm.
are there,
Sorry about that.
is this gonna put us in a position where we have to look at others and their certifications? Just curious to see.
Yeah, or is
And
it
I-
specific to that one?
I mean, if we say ERC, that's one thing, but we also, it sounds like Austin's doing his certification and,
Right, and
You know,
Greg is too. Greg has some.
yeah.
Mhm.
And the same thing on our police side, our police officers have certain ones, like I'll use Corporal Farthing, for example. He's a certified state instructor.
Uh-huh.
But we don't compensate him anything differently, but we had promoted him and appointed him to that position, and his promotion now covers within his job description. That's part of his responsibilities in that. Where the ERC is kind of outside of Tom's
Mhm.
responsibilities. And isn't necessary for him to be, that
Do that.
that person.
Mhm.
So I think if we made it specific to the ERC certification, then we limit it where others aren't going to be able to get
And
it.
because that one is so valuable to the
Yeah.
town too.
But it could open up, like Beth
Yeah.
said, it could open up others to say, I've got this certification
Which,
and,
obviously we went versus bumping his salary to make it $1,500
Mhm.
greater. I mean, it sounds like Tom's a responsible guy and he wants to do this and keep that.
Mhm.
How would that differ, I guess, in terms of trying to keep it clean and
Mhm.
Yeah, just give them a raise, an hourly raise, which would, how would that work out?
yeah, I'm just curious how that would.
Right.
It might not work out because if he loses or maybe decides
Right.
not to do it, then that.
Yeah, then
hourly
he's
rate
still
is
getting the
already
money. Yeah,
in it,
you're right.
you know,
That's true.
pay it.
Good point.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to make it permanent.
No,
Right.
no.
it's kind of
And,
hanging
and,
in here.
and how is that on the hierarchy of certifications?
Yeah,
Because there's a difference in, you do that, you get a certification to maintain your job.
Mhm.
And that's just something, part of the duties and responsibility of doing your job.
Mhm.
But then there's, like you said, a certification that is outside, you're taking a new and different responsibility.
Sure.
That means a lot to the town,
Mhm.
and it keeps the town in compliance with other.
Sure.
So if that's the case, then,
I guess on the policing side, I would use the example that all of us are CPR certified.
Mhm.
But we don't get paid anything extra, but it's part of our job
Sure.
responsibilities and
Yep.
duties and that. Where with Tom as a street superintendent, this ERC certification is the town has to have a minimum of one ERC. He is our only ERC currently. Now, you can have more than one ERC if you choose to do so, but usually the smaller towns and cities have just one, and Tom is our one. So I think tying it to that certification, no one else is gonna come forward and say, hey, I've got the same ERC certification.
I think,
Where guys in the water department, the certifications that they hold, they need to hold to have that position of superintendent and assistant,
Exactly.
where this is kind of outside of
Outside
his.
box, and the town's position depends upon it.
mhm,
We don't want any fines, we want everything, all the Ts are
right,
crossed.
right.
Yeah,
So
So, yeah,
that sounds good to me.
yeah, based on that, I would definitely
Mhm.
just
Be
tie
in
it to
favor.
the ERC.
tie it to the ERC and we're.
Right.
I'm in favor.
Because if he ever leaves, then there'll be someone else to
Right.
step up.
And they'll have to step up.
Somebody, whoever that is, that takes the test,
Will get,
passes the test and gets the certification, they'll get the $1,500.
So will this have to be, Chris, have to change this ordinance along with the other one,
Yeah, we'll
to make
probably,
this part of the handbook?
probably the handbook also, and then, part of the salary ordinance possibly. We'll have to explore that with Chris. So I guess my recommendation would be, I'd make the motion that we recommend to the town council at their May meeting that Tom Dolph receive $1,500 annually as a specialty payment for maintaining the ERC certification, and that annually it's paid whenever the council will decide, like the month of April or something like that. And then, they verify every year that he's certified, and then during that month, he would get paid, that $1,500, similar like how they get paid longevity and everything else.
And I like the word stipend because then it is kind of that special, right?
and that gives him a deadline.
Yeah.
Every year you need to have
Right.
by April.
Right. And I'll check with him to see if there's a renewal on it. I don't know if it's every year or every 2 years he has to take the test or get the renewal, and then what that deadline is. And then we'll set it for after
Right.
that,
Right,
that he's had time to get it renewed.
exactly.
And let's say it's July 1st, and then, he could get paid in August or whatever. So, or upon presenting, the
The
certification.
credentials.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
That sounds good.
Yeah, I would just want to make sure that we feel really good with that $1,500. Like you had said, sometimes it's 500, sometimes when they ask, which I would hope that someone would ask, how'd you come up with
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that Tom, came to you with that,
mhm.
is there any way to do our due diligence to make sure that's kind of within the,
So,
so that we can,
Survey the
Yeah.
town.
yeah.
Survey of the
Or-
town.
My previous employer, typically on a lot of specialties, they paid anywhere from 2 to 3% more for a specialty. Like if you were a SWAT operator
Mhm.
or a certified chemical breath test operator, that they would pay you, depending on the specialty, 2 to 3% more onto your base salary in that. So
So does that
Tom-
fit within there?
So Tom's right now, I believe, just under, right around $70,000 a year, let's say. So 2% of that would be 1,400.
Okay, yeah.
So I think,
So that, okay, so.
I think
like
that would be a good example.
We say, that's how we came.
Yeah,
to this,
that's
too.
good to have that
It's-
number.
it's
Yeah, that's,
Between 2% and 3%, and
Mhm.
it's,
that's a fair number.
right, yeah.
And then if somebody down the road came in at a lower salary,
right.
their
We'll give
stipend
them-
may be a little less,
Yeah,
we
so
can-
if we say, 2.2%, which would maybe come to whatever the, kind of keep it to that, so that, like you said, if there was someone at a lower rate, they would get at the same rate, just to keep it fair.
I think the 1,500 is a fair,
Yeah.
fair number, holding that one
So,
certification, basing it off of the ERC certification. And that as long as he can provide, verification each year that he is certified with the, Indiana Department of Transportation as the town's ERC, that he'll receive that $1,500 stipend, and then it'll be outlined in the handbook, how and when it's,
Mhm.
applied to his payroll.
Question. Will it be tied to him and his position? Or will it be tied, or could you say this is one of the, certifications that are, mandated, by the town? And so in case he leaves, he won't leave with that and it has to be revised again. But, could it be placed in the handbook where,
Generically, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I like that,
certifications.
right?
Yeah, not tied to him, but. tied to
Yeah, but tied
Whoever
to,
has the ERC certification. in
Right.
town.
Would get the $1,500.
right,
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because the next time it could be somebody else that holds
Yeah,
it.
in a different
Yeah.
position,
Mhm.
yeah.
but they won't get it in addition to, because you've already stated that the town, we only need one,
Right.
and you will fund only one person.
Mhm.
So somebody can't just come and say, well, I got it.
Yeah.
Right,
No,
right.
you know, this is, he has been designated.
Right.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
has been
So
designated.
language would state that the town's designee, who is the ERC representative, shall receive $1,500 annually upon providing
Brilliant.
recertification.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We'll work on that in the handbook,
Yeah.
so.
All right, so based on all that, we're good, right?
Yeah,
All in
Yes,
favor?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was a good discussion of it,
Yeah.
though.
Mhm.
Did better,
Yeah.
feel better. We are not going to, next on the agenda was the handbook, but because of Meg not being here, we are gonna shelve that for this
Okay.
month and hopefully get back to it next month, which that reminds me of something else we have to talk about for next month. And, Chief, if you would just like to go over again the performance appraisals for
Sure.
all the employees.
All of the annual performance appraisals were due in by April 15th. I have met with Clerk Treasurer Collins, and all performance appraisals have been completed and submitted to her office and shall be filed in the personnel files of each employee. And there were no concerns upon reviewing all of the performance appraisals. All employees are performing at our standards or above, and we are very pleased with all of our employees and appreciate all of their efforts and professionalism throughout the year.
And Chief, how many employees are we talking about here?
No, I think full-time we're at 13, and then we reviewed 3 part-time. So about 16 total approximately. So, yep. And that even included our part-time employees. We sat down and did performance appraisals on the part-time employees as well. So the only ones we do not do them on are seasonal, which are summer camp counselors and directors and that. But all other employees are subjected to the performance appraisals each year. So
It's a benefit to them to have.
that's a great chance for coaching time and allowing them to provide some input to allow us to find out ways that we can better assist them in performing their job duties.
Mhm.
So,
The only other thing I had on the agenda is to discuss for our next meeting, if we could move the time to 9:30 AM. Would anybody have a problem with that?
So, yeah, I just have a running Zoom call on Wednesday mornings at 11.
Okay,
So I
so
don't,
we just be done.
yeah,
If
is
we
that,
have a night-
I mean.
Because
don't
I know
wanna
Meg-
any-
She can't come too early, right? So it's 9:30 is probably within her.
yeah, I think she was good with that.
Okay, because I mentioned it to her the other night, yeah, because I'm flying out that afternoon, so.
So we're just
Oh, just
changing,
for this-
just for that
Just
next
for
one.
that,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
just for that one meet, that one day,
Okay, so that's May 21st?
May 21st, is
And
that?
we'll
I don't
change
have
that
the
to
calendar in front of
9:30.
me, but,
Okay, I like that. All right.
9:30,
9:30.
yeah, so. I thank you, I appreciate flexibility, because I didn't want to miss it, and I didn't want to have to
No,
change the day, but if we just made it earlier, I
Sure.
could still
That sounds
miss
good.
my flight. right.
Steve, what does CCMG stand for? Is that,
Community crossing
Oh,
mitigating grant.
okay,
It's
that's
the
the grant.
paving grant.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Mhm. Yeah, that's we get 75% state funds and 25% matching funds the town has to provide. And then the larger cities, like Michigan City, LaPorte, and then the county, they are a 50-50 match.
Oh,
Mm.
Where the smaller towns like Trail Creek, Westville, ourselves, we're town of Michiana, just, they're getting ready to do a CCMG. We only have to provide 25%, which is great. So like for the $1.73 million in paving we're doing, we're putting up just under $500,000 towards that. So
It's good that we got it.
Yeah.
we wouldn't have the roads we have today if it wasn't for it. So
Yeah. And I was just thinking that with everything else being cut back,
Yeah. those
I'm glad
funds
that
could be
that's
done.
until.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
so far it looks good.
Yeah,
Good.
well, on that note, we can adjourn the meeting. Is there any other discussion I should ask first before I?
Just the previous employee who resigned, did that cell phone come back?
Yes,
Okay,
everything's back.
Good.
Final payroll was processed.
Okay, great.
All town property was returned, and I conducted an exit interview with the employee in that upon the resignation.
okay,
So
great. Good.
Anything else from you?
all good.
right, well, on that note, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
All right, it's 2:14. Thank you.
Bye.